Today's all about the perfect sundress, really nice wide straps that will cover any bra, lots of cover under here, no gaping, a little shirt detail at the back with a lovely skirt, lots of sewing to see, including going the extra mile, like lining the bodice. Stay with me. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and I know a lot of you like sewing dresses. It makes me really happy to sew dresses actually. And today I've got the Tempo sundress to share with you from Love Notions. It is a new pattern that was released today. I have been part of the testing team for the last couple of weeks. This release has been really anticipated because it's a really nice dress. I know all the testers in the group really enjoyed sewing theirs, and if you click and look at all the tester photos in the listing, you're going to see such lovely dresses. It's such a beautiful design. It's meant to be made with woven fabrics, and you can see in the line out here that it's got wide straps. It will cover the bras that you wear. Sometimes sundresses are designed with little tiny spaghetti straps, and that doesn't really work for people that need a good bra with a nice type of strap. You know, some of us don't have the luxury of not wearing a bra or using a strapless bra that would be very supportive. So when I see the wide strap there, I know that Tammy has thought about everyone, that everyone can wear this and be really comfortable with your bra there without it being seen. There's a soft V at the front. It's not too deep, it's not a low neckline, and at the back on the center you have a panel that's shirred. So the bodice is meant to hit the waist, and then below the waist you have a skirt that has gathers, but the gathers are subtle. It's an A-line skirt, and you have the option of putting in inseam pockets there. If you've been watching my pocket video tutorials, this is why I started filming them, because I always plan to put the pockets on this dress specifically. I like them because they are anchored onto the waist, so they aren't the inseam pocket that just dangles there in your side seam or loose. So that's nice. And as for length, you can choose just to put one skirt and that will just hit above the knee, or you can add a second tee that's gathered onto the first skirt, and that, depending on your height and how long you make that tee, could be sort of midi, mid-calf, or even maxi if you wanted it to be. It would be super easy to just lengthen that second tee. I've focused on making short dresses because that's what I like to wear. I absolutely adore the look of maxi skirts on everyone else, but whenever I've tried some in the shops or tried to sew for myself, I just can't wear it. As I mentioned, the dress is for woven fabrics. You can use many types. You can even use quilting cottons if you have a nice quality one, 100% cotton, and then you have other lighter cottons like cotton lawn would work, gauze. Though I have to mention that usually those quilting cottons come in narrow width fabrics of 44-45 inches. Maybe the skirt piece might not fit into that narrow piece of fabric. You just have to check, and if it doesn't fit, maybe you can add center front and center back seams without it really affecting the look of the skirt at all. Other fabrics that would be nice are the rayon types, rayon blends, 100% rayon, rayon cotton blend, rayon linen blend would be super nice, rayon challis, rayon twill, and then you have your linen, whether it be 100% or mixed with rayon would always be a great choice. That would be a more medium weight fabric. Depending on the type of woven fabric you choose, the skirt is going to look flowy or a little bit more structured. The more structured fabrics like cotton or linen would be so easy to sew. With the bodice it would look nice and structured, but the skirt would poke out a little bit more and would not flow that much as a rayon would. For my versions, because I like the flowiness, I've chosen 100% rayon and another one that's made out of a crepe fabric, both very lightweight, and because of that I've done some changes to the way I've sewn the dress, although I've used the same pattern pieces, but you'll see more about that later on. Another notion you need for the shirring is you need at least 1 or 2 spools of that elasticated thread that you put on the bobbin. There's another option for the shirring that I forgot to mention. You can make a panel at the back with small casings, and you can put 3/8 wide elastic in there, and that is another option. You would need about 2 yards of that type of elastic. I haven't tried that method, and I think most of the testers just sewed the shirred piece at the back. Now, another thing I saw that I do not have access to, but you might, is that they sell fabric that's already pre-shirred. So you can buy yardage of fabric that has already got the shearing done for you, so you would have to do absolutely nothing but cut out the template and put it on the center back. It would save you so much time, because shirring does take a little bit of time. Because the Tempo dress is a new release, it is 25% off, and it will be at this discounted price for a whole week. So it's a really nice time to get it for a bit less when a new pattern is released, of course. I will leave you my affiliate link down below in the description description box, as well as my blog post where you can see a little bit more detail. Thank you so much if you use my affiliate link, because that directly supports my work, because I receive a small commission from each sale. About the sizing, because this is a new pattern, it's got the full sizing from extra small to 5X. That'll go up to a hip of 59.5 inches. There is a standard bust and a full bust option, so if you have 4 or more inches of difference between your high bust and your full bust, the full bust option will give you more space. 2 inches across the front extra than the standard bust, and the width of the dart will be deeper as well to accommodate a larger bust. Although this skirt has a lot of ease, so if your hips are slightly larger than 59.5, I think you could get away with it and make it anyway, because there's like 16 inches of ease at the hips, because it's a nice voluminous A-line skirt with gathers, you know. One thing that you might find interesting if you are used to looking at body measurements and finished garment measurements is that if you're sewing the standard bust, you'll see 1.5 inches of negative ease, which is not common to see in a woven garment, and you might be surprised by that. At least that's what I did when I just looked at it, you know, quickly. And the full bust option will have only 1/2 inch of positive ease, and it's not wrong. Even though this is a woven design, it's designed like that because there's that shirring panel at the back that will stretch, and it'll act sort of like there's a knit piece at the back giving you that extra ease. So it's correct, don't think it's a mistake. There is negative ease here, but it's because there's that shirring panel at the back. So you'll be able to put your dress on through the top without needing a zipper or anything, because that shirred piece that stretches at the back will make it possible. About the fitting, of course I would recommend you make a muslin for a bodice like this that's meant to hit the waist. There are bust darts there, you really need to check that they are correctly placed for you. You also might want to alter the length of that strap. Sometimes some people need to shorten it or lengthen it because they're just longer here or shorter. So please don't make a dress like this, you know, straight up with your nice fabric, because it might fit but it might not, and you don't want to be disappointed. I made a muslin and I'll show you some photos here, just very quick photos. I didn't do any flat pattern measurements with this bodice because it comes up to here and the strap is just really hard to do flat pattern measurements and seeing where the apex is. So I just made it as is with my size extra large and saw how it fit on me, and then from there I went ahead and made fitting adjustments. As you can see there, I'm super happy with the cover under the arms. I'm showing you the photo here. No drama there. I thought the straps had the perfect length for my body. I didn't need to alter that. But I know this bodice is really short on me, about 1 inch or so too short for me. I can feel it and I can see it on my body. I need to lengthen this bodice, and also the dart is way too high for me, about 1.5 inches too high for me for this pattern. So I knew I needed to make some adjustments. The skirt also was really short, and so I'll put on the screen here the adjustments I made for the bodice. You can see that I added 1 inch to the length. Now traditionally you would use a shorten and lengthen line that is under the bust dart around there, but because I needed the length up above to lower my dart and also add length here, I made another cut line up higher than the bust dart, and that's just customizing the fit to my length. You can put your shorten and lengthen line where you need it on your body, you know. So that's what I did there. Added 1 inch right there, and because I added 1 inch here, I added 1 inch at the back to the back bodice also, and then I dropped my bust dart by 1/2 inch. It really means I dropped my bust dart by 1.5 inches though, if you can see. There is a shirring panel that goes at the center back. You also need to make adjustments to that one, and I made that one longer as well. Both the template that you use for your shirring and then the one that you use to cut out your piece. So don't forget to make changes to those shirring pieces if you've made changes to the bodice, whether you've shortened it or lengthened it. You need to take into account that. At the skirt, I could have made a cut line around the middle of the skirt and lengthened there, but because I had enough width on my fabric, I decided to add it at the hem. That just means my skirt was going to be a little bit longer and a little bit fuller at the hem, which is not a bad thing. And I added 2.5 inches there so that it reaches above my knee, or else this would have been like a mini dress for me, and that's just because I'm taller. I'm 5'8" and Love Notion drafts for 5'5", and I can really tell that I need that extra length everywhere, really. You know, 3 inches is a lot of height difference to have for patterns. I'll show you the bodice I made. This is my muslin. It's not my final product, but you can see how it looks. The straps are coming from there. I've got just another random fabric in the middle as the shirring piece. There are facings inside, front and back. and I'm going to show you exactly how to get this clean finish there. So I'm just showing you this. It's got your bust start right there, but let's see how to sew this now. In this first segment of Up Close and So Personal, you'll see how to sew the bodice and the basics of the skirt. So let's see.
Don't you think this is starting to wear on me? You've been raining down like hail. I'm weak.
To make the back centerpiece that's shirred, you have this piece that you cut out of fabric once. It's just wider than the intended because you're going to do shirring rows all along and it's going to make it smaller. So you'll see some lines marked, but you can basically just do shirring every 3/8 of an inch. You would first fold the top, fold it back by 1/2 inch and top stitch it down so that the top edge is neat and finished. You would serge the edge, of course, before doing that. And then you just start shirring. Then there's this other little panel that's going to help you see that you've got the correct amount. You know, sometimes when you do shirring, it might end up a little wider or a little bit wonky on the sides. So you can neaten that up with this one. Put this on top of the shirred piece and make sure it's the correct width. This is what I've ended up with to show you this sample. It's not my real garment. So on the top, I have folded it up, but I didn't serge it because this is a fake garment. And you can see my rows of shirring there. Look, I ran out of this white elastic thread and I finished with the black one, and I think the black one makes the shirring a little tighter right there compared to the white one. So there can be differences with the elastic type that you use or your stitch length, so things can vary. That's why there's this little template piece after it. So we'll just use this for the demonstration. This will go on the center back. I'm going to show you a way to put this bodice together that I find super easy. This is the bodice piece that you have with your fabric normal, and this is a shirred piece. Of course, this would be the same fabric as this. It's just that for this bodice, for my muslin, this fabric was too heavy and I couldn't get the shirring to work properly. And because it's just a muslin, I just made a piece from rayon. But this is what's going to go in between there, and that will be at the back. This will give you ease at the bust and the waist everywhere. And that's why the pattern has a little bit of negative ease at the bust, because this will act like a knit sort of, you know, it'll stretch a lot there and you'll be able to put your dress in and out. The way I found this easier to put together is just to put the shirred piece aside and just put your bodice piece together on the side seams. So this is the back, this is the front, the bust that has already been sewn. There will be a skirt attached here later. The seam allowance will go in opposite directions, which I always like. And here's the other side seam, and the other bust that. I have stay stitched these top edges before putting these seams together. Of course, you can see that they stitched. You will see some marks that will guide you to where you can put your straps in. Now, there are separate pattern pieces for the facings. They actually have the same shape as the main pieces. It's just that they're shorter. For this muslin and demonstration, I haven't interface them, but you would have to interface these. I like block fusing, so I would take my two back facing pieces and just cut a larger piece of fabric, interface it, and then cut them out just to make sure that this shape will be the exact same shape as this right here. So pretend this is black and pretend this is interfaced, but it's not. You'll have little side seams there. So you would have this just all extended, a back, the front, and the back. The front is cut on the forward, as you can see. You would have also made your straps. The straps are super easy to sew. They're just rectangles. You sew them lengthwise and turn them right sides out. I have the seam of the strap in the center there, so that when you wear your strap, you have a folded edge on both sides. I really don't like pressing them like this, where you have a seam on the outside. I never like that, so I just get the seam to be in the middle right there. Now we will take our bodice, put the fabric right sides up like you can see here. Take these straps and have the fold of the strap be facing up. So the nice side of the strap will be touching the right side of the bodice. And you have these little marks right there to place this right there in the center of this shape here on the top. And you do the same one with the other one here on the other side of the front. Now I'm going to attach the other side of the strap at the same time. Just take it, keeping the seam on the top facing up, and just align it here to the back. So you're going to have this like that. The seam is always up on the top. You can see the seam of the strap right here too. and align it to your marks that you have on the bodice right there. And this is the back, and do the other side over here. Always keeping the seam of the strap up, don't twist it, and align it here on the marks that you have on this side. See the marks? Okay, so we have the straps there, and now we just take our facing piece that is super long, extended, and just align everything. The side seams to the side seams, they oppose each other, and when they touch on the inside, they nest together and create less bulk. The facing will reach all the way to the end right there. They are the same shape, they are the same size. Okay, and now we are going to sew all these in one go, catching the straps as we go, removing pins as we go. Just a straight stitch, and the seam allowance is 3/8 of an inch. Go slow when you have these curves on the top where you are going to put the straps. I'm sewing the strap, and here after the strap you can feel the needle just past the strap on the back, and then you do a little pivot, very small. Here we're almost at the front strap. You can also feel where it is. I like to hand crank. And there is a strap on there. We pivot and we go straight for a little bit until we've sewn the strap. Here the needle is finishing the strap there. I can feel it. You can always feel it there. Pivot a little bit and then go down to the center front. So there's the center front. Pivot a little bit and go back up. Here at the center front, you can see some snips so that we can get a nice little V there in the front. It is a soft V, it's not a really sharp V, but it always helps to do some snips. The seam allowance is 3/8. You could leave 3/8 in there, but there's so many curves, I'm just going to trim it down a little bit. And then where it's a bit curved, I'll be doing a few snips as well, and then understitching. If you want to top stitch your necklines for something decorative, that doesn't really replace understitching, because you could even see the facing pop through even if you top stitch. So I wouldn't skip the understitching at all. Now I'm going to do some understitching, and I use this presser foot that has a G on it. It's a blind hem foot. I don't use it for blind hems, I use it for edge stitching. And I'll move the needle to the left. Here at the back, I don't want to understitch all the way to the raw edge because we're going to be sewing the shirred piece on now. So I want to leave about 3/8 of an inch free there without the understitching. So I'm extending the bodice and the facing. I've got the bodice on my right hand, the facing on my left hand, and the seam allowance going to the left, just underneath the facing like that, as you can see. Keep the straps out of the way when you see them, and I'm starting about 3/8 from the edge, not all the way to the edge. Now here on this edge on the front, you might not be able to understitch the whole thing because it's too curved like that. So I'll probably stop right before the strap and then pick up again right there. And then go past the strap, keeping the seam allowance underneath the facing towards the left. Pick up here after the strap as close as you can to it. And then we're going to get to the center front here where it's snipped. We can understitch that as well. Stop before this next strap. Start again after the strap. Okay, so that's how it will look on the inside with the understitching. That will keep the facing inside and the neckline looking really clean on the outside. Bring this bodice over here. Keep the facing extended up here on the top. This is where we're going to put the shirred panel. So we had that folded edge on the top that I didn't serge or top stitch because this is a fake garment, but you get the idea. I did serge the bottom edges though. Anyway, let's get this top edge here. You would have an edge here that's just raw. And we're going to put these right sides together with this one like that here, and this folded edge will go right up to where the bodice meets the facing, right there, as you can see. So align that there, put a pin so it'll touch right there, and that's how you're going to ensure that the shirring and the side of the dress have the same length, and then the bottom will meet the raw edge down there. So that's pinned there. and we have this facing dangling, and this facing will just come and cover this. So you're basically going to have the shirred piece sandwiched between the bodice and the back facing right there. Just make sure to align the edges there, and that's how we're going to sew this side. So it'll just be like this. And remember, the bodice and the facing are sandwiching the shirred piece. The top of the shirred piece that you've sewn and finished on the top is right there on that seam. This is why we didn't want the understitch to go all the way, because it would get in the way. You can see it right there, but from the seam allowance we need to sew, it's free. So let's just sew this at 3/8 of an inch. So we have that seam, and this is now when you would serge this all the way up, just all the way, and that will make sure this edge is finished too. What will happen now is that the seam allowance here on the top, just fold it on itself like that. Hold it firm and flip it, and it's going to be very clean here on the back. You can see your fabric, your shirring piece have the same length on the top, and here on the inside it's super clean. You can see that this has been serged. This seam will be pressed towards the side seam, and of course this edge of the shirring would be serged and folded and top stitched, which I haven't done, but you get the idea. That's one side done, and then we just need to do the exact same thing with the other side. Align the top edge of the shirring, that's the one that you have finished, with the edge right here where the bodice meets the facing. Bring the facing over, sandwiching it. I'm putting a horizontal pin, which I don't do that much, but I really want that edge to be right at the seam there, and then it's exactly the same thing. Sew, serge and flip. I'm repeating both of these sides even though they are identical. I think repetition is good, and then when you go and do it yourself, you remember. Hold this intersection of seams towards the facing right there. I don't snip into those things, just hold it firm and flip. And there you have a completed bodice. This type of facing is good because it goes above the bust. It doesn't go right here and cut your bust in half. I really like these short facings on the top, and it's either that or fully lined for me. Those are the two options that I like. I don't like facings that just get halfway like that. I'm showing you how to sew the bodice as per the instructions on this type of fabric, because for my official versions, because I'm using rayon and it's lightweight, I'm going to be lining the bodices. This is my skirt. I already have assembled it. I have my inseam pockets sewn with French seams on the side, and you can see that in detail in another video I have separately on the technique. You can see that it flares out a little and it's quite wide on the top because it'll be gathered onto the bodice. I was careful to get this shape right there in the center, and I have the same on the back and on the front, and it's just super simple, just side seams with the inseam pockets there. You can sew them traditionally, and you can see how to do that in the video thumbnail you can see there. Or if you want to go the extra mile with a lightweight fabric and do inseam pockets with French seams, then you can look at the thumbnail on this side to see how that's done. I'll just be gathering there on the top using parallel rows, long stitch length to gather that onto the bodice after the bodice has been sewn. I've got the bodice inside, right sides together with the skirt. This is the front part of the skirt, and it's all been gathered there. I do 2 rows of gathering stitches, and my actual seam will be right in between there at 3/8. So once I've gathered the skirt there from one side seam to the other on the front, now I can bring my pocket and just align it there on the edge with the gathering underneath. I'm going to use the same pins I had underneath to pin it right there. So the pocket isn't gathered, but the skirt in there is. And same as over here. I've got the gathered bit of the skirt there, and I'm just going to bring the pocket forward and pin it there. Now the back is different because the back skirt isn't gathered onto the back bodice. So if you meet it up to there, you'll be 101, you'll be the same. And you have all this shirred area there. And if I stretch it, you'll see the skirt matches exactly when this is stretched. So I'm going to have to stretch this shirred bit underneath to match what's on top, but it's still the same, you know, it's not gathered. But then once you wear it, it will look gathered there in the center because of the shirring. And then after the shirring, you have 101 again. It'll just be at 3/8 of an inch, and then I'll serge it. And that's the end of the dress. I won't film that, that's too boring. Here is my first tester version. This fabric is really special. I'll just show you how it looks like before I cut it out. It was very, very strange. It had these huge types of prints there in the center of the fabric and different from selvage to selvage. So it took me a long time to figure out what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted the larger prints there to be on the skirt, and then for the bodice, the stripy areas to be in the center. So this is how it worked out. I'm really happy with this. It looks really, really unique. I love prints like that, even though they're harder to cut out and they take longer, because the garments turn out so nice. I love the print with the red, the black. There's some flowers there. Now these flowers aren't at my apex. My apex is around there, so these flowers are not right there. I've got my shirred piece at the back there. It looks really pretty, and the skirt is sewn right onto there. You saw that the skirt is only gathered in this area where the shirring is, not here on the side. But on the front, you have subtle gathers all across the front. I always sew the gathers in the same way now. I do 2 rows of gathering stitches with a nice distance in between so that I can sew with my seam allowance right in the middle of the gathered area. I think that works really well. And I haven't focused on shirring. I have a lot of detail about shirring in the video I made about the ballad blouse from Love Notions. It has a shirred piece here on the shoulder. So if you want to know more specifics about shirring, go ahead and watch that video. I'll leave it linked below as well. And if you saw my inseam pocket tutorial, you would know how to sew these inseam pockets, whether you want to do them in the traditional way or the French seam way. In yesterday's video, I filmed this. You can barely see that the pocket is there. I've got French seams on the side seams and on the pockets. Lining fabric on the piece that goes underneath. It's anchored onto the waist. And you might notice that I don't have the wrong fabric here on my dress, because I've lined it, including the shirring. So let's see how this looks. This is my first tempo dress, my tester version, size extra large. I've got above the knee length, some length adjustments that you can see in my video, and some fit adjustments to the bodice with the dart and the length of the bodice. It's a given with a fitted bodice like that you need to customize. Super happy with the result. I love this fabric. It's a rayon, super special print, and I took my time to cut it out and get all the prints where I wanted it to be from the same fabric. This is all the same fabric. The perfect sundress with all the cover you want up here, thick straps, bra friendly, all those things. Look at all these details and all these colors. Love it. With my fitting adjustments, the bodice hits my waist, and just below there I have the pocket entrance right there. Inseam pockets that are French seamed inside. Of course you can't see that from the outside, but I know this dress is special on the inside as well. You can't see that the opening for the pocket is there, and because the top of the pocket is anchored up here, it stays fixed there and it doesn't create bulk on the hips. In my opinion, no one would know these pockets are there. I love how the print turned out. I took my time to cut it out so that that detail would be in the center front and the center back right there. Here's a closer look at my bodice. I have this stripy feature that I really wanted to be in the center front. I have these flowers here, and I was careful to not get them on my apex. Actually, they are higher up. So my apex is down here, so they're not right there. There's other flowers right there. It was just really tricky to get this to make any sense, but this is acceptable. I chose part of the black fabrics for the straps just in case my bra wants to peek a little bit. Sometimes it can wiggle around and you won't be able to see it because it's black mainly. Having the bodice lined inside feels amazing on, feels really nice and supportive. I really love how that feels. I would always do that with a fitted bodice when I want to use lightweight fabric like rayon. I think rayon is a little bit flimsy for this, in my opinion, so I like putting some interfacing around there that you can't see, and of course it's lined. There are 2 layers of rayon right there, and I think it's perfect. Shirring as well is double layered. That way I don't touch the elastic on my skin, so it works really, really well there. Here's a closer look at the bodice. Very nicely fitted here, right underneath there. That's exactly like I like these bodices, and this is how this pattern is, so I think that's amazing. Nothing on show right there. It's all very good. Here's a closer look at the back and the shirred area in the center back. Super happy with my dress. Taking the time to get the prints right on this special fabric was super worth it. Rayon's always beautiful and flowy, but I do like to take extra steps to make the bodice more stable. All very worth it for me, and I really love this dress. One of a kind. It's got red. I feel amazing in anything red. Of course you know that already. Really love it. Even got pockets.
I swear I'm not a liar. You should dance with me. You should get to know me. Keep it with the harmonies. Let go of your worries.
And then comes the second part of Up Close and So Personal that will show you how to line this bodice. It's really easy.
Don't you think this is starting to wear on me? You've been rated down like hell. I'm weak.
These are my main bodice pieces. This is the back and this is the front, and I have cut fabric that is bigger than these pieces for both of them. The back is not cut on the fold. There's a shirring piece that goes sewn onto there, and this is the side seam of the back, so there's two pieces there, and the front is cut on the fold. Now I have on top of my paper pattern pieces the facings, which are exactly the same, only I have folded my facing pieces a little shorter, about 1/4 inch shorter, and just traced where that line is there on the pattern right there. I've done the same for the front and the back. What I want to do now is get some interfacing. My interfacing is quite sheer, it's very lightweight. I can put it on here and cut to this shape here, to that line, and then past this, go over. I want to interface this piece, including this extra fabric that's around there. Interface it, let the fabric shrink if it wants to around the area, and then place my pattern piece on top again and then cut again. And that's how I can ensure that my main pieces are going to stay the same shape and not shrink with the interfacing. This is not the traditional way you would make the pattern, but because I'm using really lightweight rayon and I really want to use it, I'm just giving it a bit more structure here on the top, and I can take advantage of the flowiness of the gathered skirt with the rayon while making the bodice on the top a little more stable. If you wanted to use rayon and you didn't want to interface or do what I'm doing, because this is just extra things that I'm doing, you definitely need to cut and stay stitch this area immediately so it doesn't stretch out. I just want mine to hold up firmer and look more structured, like it was a cotton or a linen, but it's not, it's a rayon. Here I've cut out my piece of interfacing for the front. You can see the line I had drawn there, and this is on the fold, and this is just following the shape of the fabric there. All the way to the side, I'm interfacing a slightly larger area right here. So now I can take this off, go to the iron and fuse that on the top. So now I can fold this fabric again, pretend the interfacing is not there, but it's already there, and then I'm going to place my pattern piece here. Here I have the two back bodice pieces, and I have my piece of interfacing that matches the shape. These are the pieces I need for my bodice, and it's all a lightweight rayon, super lightweight. I do want to have a little bit more structure on this bodice. So over here, these are the main ones, the ones that will be on the outside. These are the ones I looked at pattern placement, what type of print I was going to have. That's where I took my time cutting that out. And you can see that the top part of the bodice has been interfaced already. Same as for the two back pieces right there. These are my straps. I also interfaced these straps because the lightweight rayon is just not going to hold up on its own. And then I have identical bodice pieces here, only with these ones I didn't really care what sort of print came out here because this is going to be on the inside and no one's going to see. This one is also interfaced, but the interfacing piece is about 3/8 of an inch longer than the interfacing piece that I have on the main bodice. That way I'll have a lot of structure there, but the bulk won't be all in the same place. The way I'm going to put it together will be exactly the same. I'll sew my bust start right there, press the bulk to the bottom, sew the side seams on both sides. You saw how I put together my bodice already. It'll just be the same, only that instead of having facing pieces, I'll just have exact same bodice pieces that I'll sew together with the straps in between. This is a piece I would need to cut out of fabric so I could do the shirring, and it would just be a single layer, and that's how you saw me do it in the sample bodice that I've shown you. But for my final version, I want to have a double layer of shirring just because I don't want the elastic touching my skin, and I think it'll just be more stable that way. So I have a fold there, and I'm just going to have a piece that's twice as long, like that, but it'll be the same width. So basically I'll just end up with a piece that's really long once it's shirred, and then I'm just going to fold it wrong sides together. I'll have a really neat fold on the top, but everything will be shirred there, and I'll have elastic there and elastic there. What's going to touch my skin is just going to be the fabric. Here's the bodice of my dress. It's the same as the one I've shown you with my muslin fabric. The only difference is that I've interfaced the top part here. That replaces stay stitching. And I have pinned my straps the same way. I have the fold of the strap in the middle, facing up, right side of the fabric facing up, and I've pinned that both there. And now, instead of just having the small facings, I just have another bodice. It's the exact same thing, copies of each other. And then I'm just going to align the side seams here, have the straps be in the middle. I have pressed all the seams open. These seams don't need to be finished because it's going to be lined. They are all going to be covered inside. It will be the exact same process. Meet everything here on the edge, sew it, trim it, understitch it, all that. Remember, my shirring piece was double the length up here. So your normal shirring piece would be this long. It would have just been super wide like that. When you do your shirring, it becomes like that. But mine was long, and so I have a fold here, and then I've got right sides on both sides. You can see there, the elastic is in there. So I've got wrong side to wrong side, and I'll have fabric touching my skin on the inside. So I'm just going to choose the nicer one to be on the outside. Probably this one's going to be on the outside, and this is going to be my wrong side. And I'm going to sew this onto the bodice the same way I did the other one. I've pressed my bodice, tidied it up. There's understitching. So basically I have the two sides the same. This is the right side of the bodice because I plan to have this stripe going down the back. And I have a stripe going down the center of the front, so I know this is my right side and what's inside is the wrong side. So I'm going to open this up. This is my right side of the bodice, and this would be the lining. So this is where I'm going to align my shirred piece. I know this is my right side, this is what I want to use, so I'm just going to align that right there. Right side of the shirred piece to the right side of the bodice. And the same as I did with the facing, I'm going to meet the top of the shirred edge right where the seam meets the bodice and the lining piece. It's the exact same thing if you were just doing a short facing. Remember I showed you? And then this lining piece would just be long and go all the way down, instead of the other one that was just a little facing piece. And once I've aligned everything, I'm just going to sew that together, flip it, and it'll be all enclosed. If you think that was all and I only made one, of course not. You know, I always make more, 2 at least. I wish I'd made more, but the shirring does take a little while. This is my second one. It's a crepe. I love the navy blue with the print orange and light blue. These are the birds. I don't really know what they are, but I'm in a little park next to a lake close to my home. So that is the interruption that you're seeing right now. Because this dress already has a lot of details, but I still wanted to put my own twist to it and do a little hack, I decided on a really easy one, and it's to do a fake button band in the center. And it looks really realistic, like it's even top stitched on the edge and it's loose over there. And it's got the buttons that are just sewn on, no buttonholes, nothing. And doing a fake button band on a bodice that's fitted like this is perfect because you don't need to worry about gaping or anything, but you get the illusion that there is a button band with buttons right there. So that's really nice. I've got a button right there where the bodice meets the skirt, and the button band goes all the way to the hem. So nice. All the rest is exactly the same. There's my shirred piece in the center back, my bodice. Everything is understitched with all the best practices I like to sew. Everything really nice. I've done this the same as I did with my other bodice. Everything inside is interfaced up to a point right there, both for the lining and the main bodice. And it's so neat. Everything's the same. The difference here is that I don't have French seams. I've just pressed them open and I don't have any pockets with this one. If you are on Patreon, you would see how to do this hack. It's super easy, and you can do this hack to anything that has a center front where you want to add the illusion that there's a button band there. I've got all that footage and all the step-by-step there on my Patreon page if you have access. And if you haven't joined, have a look. I post a lot more than I post here on the channel over there as well. You're super welcome to join, and that is one way that you can support my work. This is my second tempo dress in a crepe with a print. I have a little hack on the center front that I'll show you up closer, but it looks like it's got a button band all the way from the bodice down to the skirt. Same above the knee length. I opted to not put pockets on this one, and the bodice is lined as well. Love the flow of the fabric. The feet up closer is the same as the other one. The bodice hits the waist right there. That is where my waist is. And then we have slight gathers here on the front skirt. And the gathers are only in the center part of the skirt where the shirred is. Really like it. It's really flowy with this type of fabric, and I love this print. I really love the neckline and the feet here. Because you have the shirring at the back, it gives you that extra ease here, so it doesn't really feel tight at all. Same as the waist, it looks really nice there, but you have that extra ease right there, so it's really comfortable. Really like the depth, everything about it. It's so nice. The straps are super bra friendly. You can see my bodice up closer. Here is the fake button band right there. It's been top stitched on this side like it would be if you did a button band on the right side, pretending there are buttonholes on this side. And this side is just open there, and there's buttons going down. I place them about 2.5 inches apart. There's no gaping because there's actually no button band. The straps are correctly placed for my favorite bra. It covers at the back. This is a perfect sundress for me. I love making it a second time around with this little hack on the center front to have some buttons. Of course, you'd see it more if it was a solid, but I love this navy blue print dress. So beautiful, and I know I'm gonna be super happy wearing it.
Dance with me. Desire, swear I'm not a liar. You should dance with me. You should get to know.
I know this is a long video, so I won't talk much more. I have another idea that I've been thinking up in my mind, and I really want to make another hack for this. If I get it done, I will upload the video during the release week so you can get another idea for it. I really enjoyed them. They're so perfect, the perfect sundress. Just everything that I want. And when I've made other dresses that have straps, I always end up widening the straps, making this area longer to cover everything, and this pattern didn't need all that because it was already thought out to be nice and covered. So that is awesome. I hope you give lining bodices a go. It's so worth it. It makes the garment feel so much nicer on, especially if you want to use the woven fabrics that are light and flowy. You can make it more structured up there while keeping the skirt super flowy and super light. And don't forget to get your tempo dress when it's 25% off. I will leave you my affiliate link down below. Thank you for being with me today, and I will see you again very soon. Bye.